I looked in the mirror and I didn't know who I was looking at. I didn't recognize the face.
Challenges. There's no denying we all have them. These are the stories of ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges and emerging better on the other side. I'm Cheryl Hunter. As a teenager, I was kidnapped and held captive. Today, my mission is to let you know that you are bigger than anything that can ever come your way. Join us for these extraordinary stories and be reminded that your true nature is to rise. Imagine if you were just cruising along in life, doing what you do, and suddenly it was as though you became a 3-year-old again and had to learn everything over from scratch. Sean, tell me about the day your life changed.
I had a stroke. It was horrific and it was wild. Part of me died in that day. Part of me relived. A new rebirth.
What was life like before that happened?
Oh gosh, it was awesome. I mean, I lived on top of the world. I mean, I had everything. I had the family, I had lived on the beach, I had 2 big companies, and I was just running and gunning and playing.
How does a young, healthy, strong man like you have a stroke at 39?
I got choked out in martial arts. The carotid artery on my right side of my neck got severed, got squeezed, it sent clots up to my brain.
And did it happen immediately?
6 weeks post the injury.
And then what happened on the day of?
The world was spinning. I thought I was a little hungover from drinking wine the day before for Thanksgiving. And I thought it was just, too much wine in my system. And then the room kept spinning, and then all of a sudden, it was that next morning, I couldn't stand up. I looked in the mirror, and I didn't know who I was looking at. I didn't recognize the face. Then I went to go put my right arm out in front of me, and I didn't know whose hand this was. And then I had no movement on my left hand, and I told my wife to call my dad. I said, I'm dying. And we called my dad, and my dad said, I think my son's having a stroke. And I didn't know what a stroke was. All I knew, something was really, really wrong. And my brain was just freezing up, and nothing worked. It was like short-circuited. I should have died 3 times. I passed out at someone's house, my friend's house, on Thanksgiving, on Black Friday morning, medevac, went to one hospital. That hospital couldn't diagnose me because they didn't know what was happening. And they medevaced me to Santa Barbara Hospital, where there's a neurosurgeon, probably the #1 neurosurgeon in the country, happened to be there in the emergency room on Black Friday. Had I stroked in Los Angeles, I would have died, because no one was in town. It was a holiday weekend. And he knew what to do. He went in within seconds and did an 8-hour surgery that basically removed a clot from my throat the size of a baseball, and had to put a shunt on my carotid artery to stop the clotting from going up. And then I kept dying. My brain kept swelling so bad because of lack of oxygen and blood in my brain that they froze my body, induced the coma, and then they performed a cardiectomy. So, series of events by seconds. He said seconds later I would have died. I would not be here because the lack of oxygen and blood in my brain, it was not traveling up there. They didn't know if I was going to be a vegetable or if I was going to walk again. No one knew anything. Only knew that I was on a respirator and in a coma for 10 days. I woke up from the coma, looked over at my dad, I said, where am I? He goes, you're in diapers and you're paralyzed. I'm like, get out of here. I'm going to go run a 7-minute mile. I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm on top of the world. I can do anything. I'm immortal. And he goes, no, you're not. And then life changed. And they started with me with therapy immediately in the ICU to get me back, to just to reboot my brain.
And when they started with therapy, what was the prognosis at that point?
They didn't know. They told me in the ICU that, this is years ago, Cheryl, so the prognosis was really up to me. I was paralyzed and no left side movement. I couldn't sit up in a chair. I had no balance, no ocular, no vestibular. My left side of my body was completely shut off. So the whole left side of my body was turned off. I couldn't see, I couldn't hear, I couldn't write, I couldn't talk. Nothing worked.
What was your frame of mind at that point?
I was scared shitless. I was like, I don't want this to happen to me. I was just, not possible. And then they told me, I said, give me my goals, what do I need to do to get out of this? And then I got to work. And then from there, I was moved to San Diego, where I was in patient rehabilitation for 8 weeks, near my house where I lived at the time. And then there it was a whole journey. I called it boot camp, because then I had to relive my whole, I had to start back over from 3 years old and relearn everything again.
Sean, at one point your prognosis was not good.
No, it was not good, Cheryl. They told me in San Diego that I may not walk for 5 years or drive a car, and one lady told me that part of my brain died, and I fired her. I said, don't tell me that ever again. And I told myself, I can, I shall, I will. and I just got to work. And I had to reboot my brain. It was very, very tough. I couldn't stand up, I couldn't walk, I couldn't barely talk, I couldn't add, I couldn't write, I couldn't read, nothing was working. I had to reboot it from the age of like, imagine being 3 years old all over again, and just having to relearn everything. Simple hand and mouth processes, I had to learn everything. Brain was totally just gone, it was fried. And it was very hard, it was challenging. The part that was still working was telling everyone else and my own body that I had to keep fighting through this. So I was in a boot camp in rehabilitation. I called it the boot camp. It was probably about 8 weeks of intensive therapy from 5:30 in the morning through the evening, where it was exhausting. It was like running a marathon every day. And I just got to work.
And as you were in that 8-week intensive boot camp to, as you said, reboot your brain,
yes,
you saw other people that had
yes.
had brain injuries, and what did you see about them?
Well, I saw it several times. I saw other people who were survivors like myself from a TBI or from a stroke who weren't receiving therapy, and they got discharged early. And then that had they continued on with the therapy, they would have been walking out of there, but instead they're stuck in the wheelchair, or they're stuck inside of a nursing home or inside of a state facility or with a loved one, no independence. And if they got the right therapy, they could get back to work immediately or just get back to living a wonderful life again. With helping stroke survivors, you have about 6 months to 2 years to get to them immediately. Because if you don't, the prognosis and the rehabilitation is delayed by years, if not ever. So they got to me soon, so I started rehabilitating my brain where I was able to walk and talk and sit up and go to the bathroom and eat again. Some people are delayed with that. If you don't get to these stroke survivors, it could take years to get them back. It's timing, where if you break a bone in the arm or the shoulder or leg, it's going to heal like that. The brain takes time to heal. It needs neural pathways to reprogram itself, neuroplasticity. As I started to heal, my brain was starting to wake up fast. So part of my brain, the cognitive side was still intact. The physical side was still coming back slowly.
And what difference was it that you decided to make at that point?
To form my nonprofit. And I had no idea what I was doing or even how to do it. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, but I knew I had to make a difference to start my nonprofit, the Move to Improve Foundation.
And so what is Move to Improve designed to do?
To help others who suffer strokes and TBIs, to give them the financial means to gain their therapy, or to give them the emotional healing or just the counseling to get through it, because it's so hard on the survivors and their families. You know, I woke up from my coma, no one knew what was going to happen to me. My father was a doctor. You know, he wasn't a brain surgeon, so no one knew how to treat a brain injury. You know, I came back home at the age of 40, I was a 3-year-old child in diapers and paralyzed. And having 2 young girls, it was very, very difficult. You know, I literally had to leave my family, which breaks my heart still, and then move in with my parents just to rehabilitate because I need the quiet space. And people don't realize that with brain injury, it just needs time to heal.
So now you provide this for other people.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And
I'm kind of like the voice of I'm kind of like helping other people just get through like the challenges initially. Because if the survivor gets into therapy, they're going to heal faster. And if they continue on with it, the brain's going to reboot. But a lot of the times, it's hard on the actual family. With my family, it broke us apart. And, you know, my ex is a wonderful mom. She's a great mother, but she wasn't able to handle 2 young kids and her team partner, her husband, who was in diapers and in a wheelchair. So I had to go live with my parents to rehabilitate me while I continue on with my outpatient therapy, post my inpatient.
What is your vision for Move to Improve for the future?
Oh, sure. I want to help out hundreds of people. I want to get into their world. I want to give them coaches. I want to give them therapy, from cognitive to financial therapy to emotional healing, and just get them back into being independent. Because I get these people back in being independent. Eventually, I want to get them working for my foundation. So it's kind of like a full circle, because they make great advocates for my foundation. So I get these stroke survivors healed, let them come work for my nonprofit, and then they're giving back.
It seems like you've got a real sense of purpose now.
Yes, I do.
And when you were talking about your life beforehand, of all the things that you said that it was the dream life, what I didn't hear you say is that you were being a real contribution and fulfilling a purpose.
I thought I was, Cheryl, but obviously I wasn't. I didn't understand compassion and then empathy. You know, the day of Black Friday, part of me died, and the other part of me woke up. I was rebirthed as this compassionate, empathetic person. That probably wasn't like that before, because I was running so hard and so fast, building, making, and doing, but what was I actually creating or building if I didn't contribute back to the world? I thought I was, but I didn't know any better. And then now being at the age of 44 now, I look back 4 years post the stroke. It's funny, this month is my 4-year anniversary. So it's looking back now, it's like I'm a new person now.
Would you trade that person you are now for the one you were at 39?
You can't ask that question because I don't know, because I just I want my body back. I want to be able to run and jump and do a pull-up and just pick up my daughters. But that part's coming back. I'm gonna heal. I'll get it all back in time. But it's been a challenge, my daughter recently, just at 5 years old now, started calling me dad. So it's like I wasn't able to imprint on her when she was 14 months. When I went down, my oldest is my best friend. We do everything together, but I'm still finding my way with my youngest daughter. So it's very tough. I got a chance to relive a second life because I should be dead completely. I should not have been here. By many, it's the miracle. I call it the stroke of luck. And so I'm just, I'm grateful to be here. I'm very, very lucky. I'm blessed to be here. Lucky is just not even a word. It's the chance of me being alive to tell my story is a miracle all by itself.
You got a second chance at life.
Yeah, I got a second chance at life. Yes, I do.
You really are making an extraordinary difference.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Wow, Sean's story is amazing, right? He is the perfect embodiment of somebody who holds their own true north.